Breaking news coming in now. Madras High Court hearing the case of an alleged suicide in Tamil Nadu. The judge has directed the Tamil Nadu government to form special teams to identify those who provoked Sunday's violence regarding Kallakurichi girl's death. The judge said this does not appear to be a mere provocation. It appears to be an organized crime. Judge has ordered re-post-mortem in the case of Kallakurichi girl by a team of doctors appointed by him. Entire post-mortem to be videographed as well. Purnima Murali is joining me on the phone line. Purnima, the student is suspected to have jumped to her death from the third floor of the school building, and the autopsy report had confirmed injuries on the girl's body. And the suicide note clearly has spoken about how she struggled in several of her school subjects as well, and she had blamed the school teachers for putting her under pressure over her poor scores. Now, who were the petitioners in the Madras High Court? Was it a PIL, and what followed after the alleged suicide?
Well, the petition was moved by the father demanding a CBSE probe. But earlier yesterday, after violence erupted outside the school premises where many properties were damaged, the case was already transferred to the CBSE, and two of them belonging to the AIADMK IT wing were also arrested because of provocation. Today, the Madras High Court heard the case and has come down heavily on those who had damaged to the property, saying that this was an organized crime and special teams should be formed to ensure that whoever is behind it at the earliest. And the father, in his petition, also demanded that the postmortem be conducted because they did not select the girl's body. And the judge said that there could be a re-postmortem in this case. Lawyers and the father can also, after the postmortem is over,
prohibitory orders were in fact imposed at several places in Tamil Nadu's Kallakurichi district after protesters clashed with police and they indulged in arson at a residential school on Sunday to protest against alleged inaction following the death of a 17-year-old student earlier this week. Several people, including police officers, were injured in the violence that happened at the residential school. Later on Sunday, the school principal and two school officials were arrested, and the government transferred the suicide case to the CBSE. The protesters had set on fire at least 15 buses, including 3 police buses as well. So what was the motivation of this violence? Why did this violence take place? All that will be investigated. The High Court has now set up a special team, and the entire violence that followed the death will be investigated now. The Chief Minister, remember, had expressed regret over the violence and assured punishment for all those involved in the girl's death as well. He had appealed for peace too. Khushbu Sundar of the BJP is now joining me on the phone line. Khushbu, we are seeing the order that has come of the Madras High Court. They are saying clearly that what appeared, in terms of the violence, there was more than just provocation. It was an organized crime.
We need to return to investigation. It says that it's an organized crime. We need to find out who was behind this, organizing this such crime. What happened? It's very, very unfortunate that we lost a very young girl to suicide, and we need to investigate that first as to what caused the death. We need to punish those who have been responsible for her death, whoever they may be, however politically influential they might be. We need to investigate that and punish them. And yes, we also need to look into this as to what caused the violence. If somebody has instigated it, if it was a planned one, then yes, anybody who spreads violence, who spreads this kind of riot, needs to be given the biggest punishment, because we cannot tolerate in the land of ahimsa, we cannot tolerate this kind of violence.
Yes, there was a call that was made by some youth groups on social media. That is, of course, subject of investigation, Khushbu. But who really organized this violence is the larger question, because more than 2,000 people had gathered outside the school. So there are several aspects of this violence that played out on Sunday is now subject of investigation. But the larger question that is being raised by the Madras High Court is also, was this just some kind of provocation, but it appears also to be an organized crime?
See, that's what I'm saying. The court says this needs to be investigated. Now, only the investigation is going to come to a conclusion. But organizing 2,000 people, no, it's not possible. There could be a small group who had instigated and organized this kind of a crime and riot. It's very easy to influence people because the emotions are running really high. Any kind of justice is required, and it's easy to get influenced. So I wouldn't say that the entire 2,000 mob was organized, but if the court has observed that there is, chances of, or this was an organized crime, then we need to investigate whoever it may be, however small or big that group is. We need to find them out. We need to identify them, and we need to set a very clear record of the kind of punishment that is meted out, that nobody else can instigate a mob to get involved or to create this kind of a riot. We need to send out a very clear message that law is about everyone else.
Absolutely.
And you need to abide by the law.
So the Madras High Court has ordered second autopsy. And also at the same time has said that there seems to be a larger conspiracy behind this entire violence. A. Sarvanan of the DMK is joining me as well. Mr. Sarvanan, the question really is there some kind of intelligence failure of the police too? Because if there is a gathering of this nature, 2,000 people gathering outside a school with a call that came on social media, what was your police doing? What was your intelligence doing?
See, what has happened is unfortunate, very unfortunate. This is sent shockwaves across the state of Tamil Nadu, because this is a kind of violence which the state of Tamil Nadu had never ever seen. It is a very heart-wrenching death. Any death of a student, that too that of a young girl, is heart-wrenching, and justice is being meted out to them. It is the first post-mortem clearly indicated that the preliminary report said this is the case suicide. So action is being taken on that spot. But the larger thing is, as pointed out by the Madras High Court, the larger conspiracy, who is responsible for this violence? Certainly some fringe elements who have taken this into their hands, and they are trying to blow it out of proportion. That is what has happened, and the government, Tamil Nadu government, will ensure that this violence, whoever is the perpetrator behind this violence, is brought to book, and this kind of violence never happens.
When you say fringe elements, then why are two AIA-DMK party functionaries, why have they been arrested?
Because they have been posting incendiary comments in the social media. That is the reason, and whoever has perpetrated this in the social media, they are being booked, and whoever is responsible, even remotely connected, they will be brought to book. Because this kind of violence is new to the state of Tamil Nadu. This has never happened. And when action is being taken, this is not an incident where there is total apathy. Postmortem was done. The minister of the concerned district has met with the parents. Justice is being meted out to the victim. But some unruly elements, some fringe elements some political elements who want to blame the Tamil Nadu government on the law and order issue, trying to...
Sarvanan and Khushbu, stay with us, because there is another piece of breaking news that is coming in now. Major private school associations in Tamil Nadu has now announced closure of schools in the state today to condemn the violent protests that erupted at a residential school in Kallakurichi following the alleged suicide of a student. So now schools will be shut across the state, is what we are being told. The private school associations in Tamil Nadu has announced that the schools in the state should be closed today. Purnima is joining us. So Purnima, it began as a call for justice for that student, the 17-year-old, and now it has taken this form across the state. Purnima, if you can hear me.
Well, can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. So I'm saying that it began as a call for justice for that 17-year-old because of her alleged suicide note. And now we are seeing private school associations in Tamil Nadu announcing that all the schools will be shut. What exactly are these schools demanding?
Well, the parents and the relatives allege that there is foul play and that she could have been harassed by the two teachers, and even some of the alumni also from the same school had said that the girls are not safe and that the teachers had harassed. And these were the testimonies that came in, because of which we saw crowds swelling. And now every private school has decided to demand justice for girls students' safety, because the parents allege foul play and says that their daughter could have been sexually harassed. So that's the claim that the parents had made. And on Wednesday also we saw family members, relatives, as well as the alumni students staging protests on the highway. And yesterday, because of the student communities now trying to send WhatsApp forward, crowds swelled, more than 1,000 people protested, and now they decided to ensure that till the two teachers who were named in the suicide note, till they are arrested, other schools have also now joined the protest and demanding justice for the girl. At the moment,
what we are told is
have been made.
that the government has transferred the case to the CBCID, and the school principal and two school officials have been arrested already. This is certainly based on the suicide note, the alleged suicide note. But when you say the family is alleging foul play and this entire call for protests was given on social media, who gave the call for protests on social media? Which is this group?
Well, these were the student communities. The lawyer representing the girl had said that they did not call for yesterday's protest that turned violent. These were student communities trying to send WhatsApp forward also to join in protests, and they had no idea that violence would erupt, because the judge was not happy with the way things panned out yesterday, where more than 13 private buses were set on fire. There were incidents of stone pelting. Many have been injured. Therefore, the judge said that it appears to be an organized crime, considering the kind of damages that were incurred after violence broke out yesterday. So at the moment, the judge had asked the police to form special teams and ensure that those who are behind these violent protests, they be identified at the earliest. Still, there's no clarity in terms of why protests turned violent, because many protesters say that they had come there to demand justice, but they started pelting stones, they set the buses on fire, and many cops were also injured in the process, which is why the judge said that those who are behind this organized crime should be arrested at the earliest. And parents said that they did not organize yesterday's protests, and these protesters came because of the WhatsApp messages that were forwarded amongst the students' community. That's what the lawyer representing the parents had told the judge at the Madras High Court earlier today.
All right, stay with us, Purnima, because the Madras High Court has now ordered the Tamil Nadu Police to file a status report on July 29th. An order coming from the Madras High Court, which is hearing the petition of the girl's father. The Madras High Court has now told the Tamil Nadu Police to file a status report on July 29th. Remember, on Sunday, around 2,000 people had gathered at the school where the class 12 student was found dead on Wednesday in response to a protest call that was made on social media by youth groups in the area. The student, 17-year-old, is suspected to have jumped to her death from the third floor of the school building. The autopsy report confirmed injuries on the girl's body. The Madras High Court has also said that there will be second autopsy that will be conducted, and in that autopsy, the girl's father and also the lawyer of her father could be present too. Purnima continues to be with us. Purnima, now the state police being told by the Madras High Court to file a status report on July 29th.
Absolutely. The judge, in fact, said that he was monitoring the kind of visuals and dramatic scenes unfold outside the school campus yesterday, and he believes that it's not just protesters trying to protest, demanding justice. It did not look like that was the reason why there were so many protesters. They've damaged, they vandalized properties, and they've also created violence there, which is why the judge has gone down heavily on these protesters, saying that those who are behind these should be identified at the earliest, and also wants special teams to be formed. In fact, asked the advocate representing the girl's family as to why these protests turned violent, for which the advocate representing the girl's family said that the father had no role in this, and they only staged protest on Wednesday, demanding justice and demanding re-postmortem of the girl's body, and the judge taking cognizance of this said that there will be a re-postmortem that will happen in the presence of a team of doctors which are appointed by the judge, and then they will be videographed. Also said the girl's father and the advocate can be present when the re-postmortem happens. That's the only observation that the judge made, but the judge came down heavily on these protesters because they in fact outnumbered the number of police personnel, and asked why so many protesters because of the kind of videos that went viral on social media, more and more protesters joined, and the police were not able to bring the situation under control. The judge also said that there are trials going on social media. There are people who are trying to rake up this issue, and those people on social media who've been trying to provocate this entire protests, they should also be identified and be punished at the earliest. So these are the observations that the judge made because of the dramatic scenes that unfolded, where police officials were not able to control the situation. And after that, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister, after seeing the kind of violence that erupted there, also said that, also assured that action will be taken. However, 3 so far have been arrested in the case, which includes the principal and the secretary of the school as well. Maria.
Okay, let's listen in to some reactions, and I'm going to go back to Purnima. Remember, has been saying that it is the school that is much to explain, and the teachers of the 17-year-old had put pressure on her over her poor scores, and had also asked the school to refund her annual school fee to her parents as well. The letter allegedly blamed some of her teachers for putting her under pressure. That is the suicide note, the alleged suicide note of the 17-year-old. The family there alleging foul play, but it began as justice for the 17-year-old, but it turned into a violent protest on Sunday. The Madras High Court saying that there is much to it. It was not just a provocation or some kind of an instant gathering. There is a larger conspiracy behind it. Purnima Murli continues to be with us live from Chennai. Purnima, give us a sense of where it all began on Wednesday.
Well, on Tuesday, the girl was found dead and there was a postmortem conducted. On Wednesday, the autopsy report revealed that she died because of multiple hemorrhages, and also said that she could have died 36 hours before she was brought to the hospital. And this raised suspicions, and family members said that initially when they received a call from the school, they were only told that the girl was injured and was rushed to the hospital, while the girl had died the previous night. So this raised suspicions, and that's why our parents decided to stage protest. So family members, relatives gathered gathered. It was a small protest outside the hospital demanding re-postmortem to be conducted to ensure that justice prevails in this case. And since Wednesday, there were no developments with regards to this story. But yesterday, more than 1,000 people had gathered outside the school premises, and more people started gathering there, and that outnumbered the number of police personnel who were deployed. They tried to push through the barricades. They were stopped by the police, and in turn they started pelting stones at the police officers, and then violence erupted. It was a riot-like situation yesterday outside the school premises, and more protesters started to join the crowd. On social media too, there were many videos that went viral, and the judge had taken cognizance of this, saying this is not a normal protest. If they are only protesting, demanding justice for the girl, why did vandalism take place in the first place? Why did they set these private buses on fire? Why was the school property damaged? These are not something that normal protesters would do. This seems to be like an organized crime. These were the observations made by the judge, because yesterday for over 2 hours the violence erupted between these protesters and the police officers, and because the number of protesters outnumbered the police officers, they were not able to control the situation. Only by evening at around 4:30 p.m. did the police try to control the situation, and the area was cleared. But for over 2 hours, at around noon it began. It went on till about 3 p.m. where violence erupted. There were dramatic scenes that unfolded, and protesters stormed the entire school, and police were not able to control the situation. And that's why the judge said that, having watched the kind of scenes unfold outside the school, he thinks that it's an organized crime, and therefore the culprits who are behind the violent protests should be identified at the earliest, and that special teams should be formed. So these were the observations made by the judge, also assuring the family members that there will be a re-postmortem. But on Wednesday, when family members' relatives protested, it was only a small crowd outside the hospital. Yesterday, dramatic scenes unfolded. Many properties were damaged, and the judge said that this should be taken cognizance of, and everyone who's provocated in some way or the other, they should be arrested at the earliest, and that and also directed the Tamil Nadu Police to file a status report soon.
Purnima, thank you so much for joining us. That remains our focus here on CNN News 18. We are slipping into a short break. Lots more news and updates on the other side.